Our guest today is Wolfram. He's an Austrian DJ and producer and all-around legend. He's played everywhere: DC10, Panorama Bar, The Edge, you name it. I talked to him not just as a host, but as a fan, and we get into how it all started for him, how he made it, what it takes to stand out as an artist today. He shares stories from DC10, his friendship with Moby and Keinemusik, and what keeps him inspired after all these years today. This one really is packed with gems, good energy, and lots of laughs. Wolfram is the real deal. He's just as humble as he is hilarious and full of heart. I'm excited for this one. Let's get into it. All right. Hello, Wolfram. Thank you very, very much for being here. Could you give us a quick 2-minute introduction on who you are and tell the world who you are as an artist?
2 minutes for me is long. I can make it shorter. My name is Wolfram. That's my actual name. That's my artist name as well. I'm from Austria, and I live in Lisbon now, and I'm a musician. I'm a DJ. I produce my own music, and yeah, I'm lucky that this is my job because it used to be my hobby as a teenager, and I ended up. I mean, I studied art in Vienna, but like I see this as my art to be a musician, the artist Wolfram.
Wolfram, I read in an article that Moby said about you, and I quote, Wolfram is more of an idiosyncratic postmodern curator of weird electronic records from the 1980s than he is a DJ. Could you tell me a bit about your relationship with Moby and what he might have meant with idiosyncratic postmodern curator of weird electronic records?
Wow, I think that's from the Interview magazine interview, which he did in like I think 10 years ago. And back then, the music scene, electronic music scene was more like I would say house techno, and he admired that I was like back then a digger of rare Italo records, disco records, and we met like 20 years ago in like 2004, and back then he was a superstar. Like
Where did you meet him?
We met in first time I met him in London, but I think he doesn't even remember that one because we got introduced at a party, at a Vice magazine party. We got introduced by Princess Superstar. She's a friend of him, and he said like, "Hi, I'm Moby," and I thought like this is so weird because he's a superstar. Everyone knows he's Moby because I knew his real name is Richard Melville Hall. Which is the fun fact is that his grandfather, maybe grandfather, wrote Moby Dick. And so comes the story. Since I met
No
him,
way. I had no idea.
When I met him, then after becoming friends, blah, 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 one time he told me like, yeah, I mean, all my friends called me Moby since kindergarten because they know, oh, his grandfather wrote Moby Dick or grandfather. So, but when I first met him, I thought like, what a douchebag. You don't have to tell anyone you're Moby. Everyone knows you're Moby. I mean, you look like Moby, like the bald head that you are. And so it was just a brief moment. And I thought like, because I was a big fan, and it was like since the 90s already, because my older brother is 5 years older, bought records, and he was not the superstar Moby yet. But I knew of him and was like, okay, that's weird that he's like, anyway, the introduction was weird. But then a few years later, we met really in Miami at the Miami Music Conference. I think it doesn't exist anymore. It's now maybe called Ultra Festival or something. But it's basically 1 week of DJs playing music, meeting each other.
Like 80 maybe.
Yeah, keynotes, blah, blah, blah. And so we were hanging the whole week together with Princess Superstar, our common friend, and I made music back then with her, and she's a vegan, he's a vegan, so we ended up doing vegan stuff in Miami for 1 week. And back then I played him like stuff that I produced back then, which in 2004 was Italo was not around. It was super rare, and he was like, wow, this is like really obscure.
Yeah.
And 80s stuff. So I think what he meant in the Interview magazine is referring to this, because if he would meet me now, I think nobody would say this now, because now it's a normal thing. You just go on Spotify, press shuffle, and then there comes the rare Italo song that is not rare anymore. But 20 years ago, it was like, wow, what's that? It's weird music.
Yeah.
So I think that explains
The sort of the
the
idiosyncratic that he
yeah.
introducing to the whole thing. Funny. I about the Italo music. So I want to ask a question. You're from, if I'm correct, Sankfeit an der Glan, which is,
Yes.
if my geography is correct, is close to the Italian border. Do you think
Yeah.
there's an element of nature, about your keen and liking to your Italo disco, sort of like preference?
I don't think so. It makes sense, but you know, Italo records back then when they were produced in Italy, they were the shit. Like not as positive, they were shit. Like really bad music, the cheap music, the cheap. So even Italians, I have a few friends, Italian producers who made music in the 80s. They are now 70 years old. And like Alexander Robotnik, he is now in the Italo genre, but he's just a musician from Italy who made electronic music back then and was not on a major label and it was not pop music. And he said like he hated Italo. That was the cheapest thing. So back then when I grew up there, close to Italy, it was also not music that we kind of thought like, wow, it's great. It's just that my upbringing was that my dad used to be, he built sound systems. Like he's an artist and sculpture. So he made sound systems, speakers, big speakers. And he was always like a hi-fi guy, having the newest equipment, the most expensive equipment. He was not rich, but he spent like lots of money in this because he loved it. And so he played always back then I would say rare electronic music for me. Like, but kind of back then this music was not considered cheap. He didn't play Italo music to me. He played more like Jean-Michel Jarre, Vangelis or Kraftwerk. But when you grow up, you don't think that your parents are the coolest things, you know. So the music of your parents, you don't think it's cool, but it influenced me that I liked it. I was like, well, it's great music, but I didn't go around as a teenager and be like, hey, wow, I'm listening to Kraftwerk and thinking that's cool
It's just
because
you were sort
it's
of
the
like,
music of your parents.
right, got you.
So, but then I heard somehow of Italo and was like, oh, cool. This is like electronic music, just more poppy, but it was never pop enough to become mainstream that people heard it. So it's a rare record that maybe failed because they all, in the end, they all tried. They, I mean, they were singing in English. That was Italians who spoke bad English, who tried to make it in the charts, in the international charts with bad Italo English. And somehow I thought this is really charming
Right.
because it had this, for me, unheard of childiness or like kind of like fun in it. And not like the really sterile, like I love Kraftwerk, of course, but it's not so like German electronic and like it had a bit like it also gave you, I don't know. Once my dad said like, you know, because he was also listening to, I don't know, rock music, but he said to the Beach Boys, he was like, you know, when the Beach Boys had a new single, you knew the summer is coming. And somehow I felt this, I would say like the Italo sound gave me this love to electronic synthesizer music, but it also had like, let's go to the beach. I don't know. It had like a nice hybrid and
Yeah, that makes
gave
sense.
me a feeling of not being just like robots, which
Right.
I love. I always, as a child, I always loved the idea of space, robotic stuff, and this kind of thing. So thanks to my dad, I mean, there's one story that is kind of weird that kind of got me to, that he got me turntables was like, he played on Christmas Day like a Christmas song
Hmm.
on vinyl and on his really expensive turntable, which is not a turntable to scratch on, it's just to listen to records. And he was really romantic with my mom standing in front of the tree. And then I was like a teenager, I was like 15. And then I scratched to the Austrian Holy Night, Stille Nacht. And the needle skipped and he was like, stop it, Wolfram. But my older brother thought that's cool. And he was like laughing. And so I did it 3 times until my dad freaked out. And he's a really nice person and peaceful, but he ended up punching me in the face in front of the Christmas tree. And then he felt so embarrassed that he did it. He ran out. My mom ran into the kitchen. My brother didn't laugh anymore, also walked away. It was me in front of the Christmas tree alone. And then my mom just was like screaming out of the kitchen, try to save Christmas. So I
Lots of
ran
moms
after my
doing
dad.
that.
I ran after my dad because he stormed out of the house. And then I think 20 minutes later, he came back and he said, I'm so sorry. He gave me a hug. I said, I'm sorry. Long story short, in April is my birthday. He gifted me 2 turntables. That was when I turned 16. So since then, I'm basically was in my basement in my room, starting to collect vinyl and playing them at home.
And so, in a way, sort of like what the journey started through, you know, you hearing this music, your father being very into it, but funnily enough, like it kind of started after a punch, which then became the love afterwards, in a way.
Yeah, I mean it's a good mix because I don't want to give my credit too much, my dad too much credit.
Yeah.
So I also give him a minus point by punching me. But in the end, he felt so bad that he was like, okay, let's save for turntables to gift him turntables like 4 months later.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I was more like into this kind of rare music because
Was
back
it from
then I
was it from the
bought DJ
inception?
magazines.
Was it from the inception that you liked Italian music? Was that sort of like from the beginning, it was just there, or were you into lots of different things to begin with?
I mean, first I was just into the classic famous electronic musicians that are great, like Jean-Michel Jarre and blah, blah, blah. But the rare stuff started with like digging into like flea markets for the 50, back then it was not even euros. It was like, shillings or like
Billings.
whatever. And then in 2000 it started to, then you have and then when I first went to New York in 2003 and LA, I went to all those, and Chicago, I think I went in 97. So I went all to flea markets back then, and in the cool record shops, I just bought like the obvious back then Aphex Twin was already like a thing,
Yeah.
and electronica from the UK or Tekre and Warp Records stuff. But then I always looked for the $1 bin. And I always liked on Italo, is like the flip side, always had the instrumental version. Because back then, I think I didn't like the vocals at all. I liked more the electronic music and the vocoder. So they always had the robotic voice at some point of the track. And there was always that dub version or instrumental, which just had the vocoder or no vocals or just snippets of it. And so I started to play, for example, in 2003, there was like a good scene in New York and I ended up playing there. Like I had this, the visa, the tourist visa, you can only stay 3 months, play 3 months every Tuesday party in Soho at a place called Happy Ending. That was pretty cool. And it was like an interesting spot because lots of fashion and art people came there. Jörg was always there. For them, I was surprised as an Austrian guy that it's kind of surprisingly easy not to make it. I didn't make it in New York, not saying this, but kind of to meet people really quickly, and the word spread around. Oh, this Austrian DJ is playing this funny music at his Tuesday night.
I actually wanted to jump into this a lot because, similar to you in the furthest way possible, because I'm not a producer nor an artist in that sense, but I used to live in Vienna, like you made your move in 2003, and you said, and this is something I would love to jump into, which I think the audience would really be interested in, is you said at the time something along the lines of, it was a time where you met the right people in a very short space of time, make great connections. Can you tell us a bit about, first of all, maybe New York in general, what the music scene was like back then, what you actually mean by having met the right people? And then lastly, which I think is really important and something you can speak to, is actually the importance of showing face, networking, and, sort of that whole side of the sort of like making it as a DJ, which maybe necessarily there isn't like a direct ROI to be found, but actually by going, showing face, networking, how was that time for you in New York?
Yeah, I think it's really impossible to show face. I mean, it was not for me like, oh, I have to go out, I have to show face. I was like excited to go out and meet people. And I was surprised that I was welcome. I mean, you hear my English now, it's not that good, but back then, 20 years ago, it was probably worse. But somehow I felt like I got even credit for being like this different guy, not like, with the thick German or Austrian accent or I don't know. And this guy playing not techno or house. Back then, there was not so much techno and house in America yet. So they were more like always a punk background, punkish, whatever. They had like I don't know. On Warp Records, there was one band. Normally, Warp Records is known for electronic artists like Aphex Twin, blah, blah, blah. But there was this one band from New York, Chick, Chick, Chick. But
Hmm.
you spell it with like 3 exclamation marks. And that was like electronic punk. It was like a bit like, I would say, David Byrne's Talking Heads, but the new version, electronic and guitar. And so New York was always, to me, it felt like a bit more like electronic alone is a bit too boring for them. They need they like the electronic aspect, but then fuck it up, make
Hmm.
it dirty,
Hmm.
gritty. And I like that. And it was, yeah, interesting because lots of artists that I admired from Europe came to play in New York, and I met them in New York as a fan and became friends because I don't know, they
Like who, for example, is someone that sticks out?
like, I mean, back then there was this New York label DFA Records, which was or is still around, and I
Yeah.
made an album on the label. Like it's run by James Murphy, LCD Sound System. So lots of people like Soulwax and people from Europe or from Canada, Tiga, other DJs came to play his parties. LCD Sound System co-played. They were not headlining back then. I mean, it was already cool, and but like LCD Sound System is actually a good example of the music from coming from New York around that time. It's like a band with synthesizers, but still it's not like cold electronic European stuff, I would say.
And you've played now. We've heard New York, and in my research, you've played all the places which I would personally consider like the best. From DC10 in Ibiza, Panorama Bar in Berlin. You've played in New York, other super exotic places. Can you tell me like a little bit about how you as a DJ, before you are going to play a set, and you do understand, I'm sure, that different cultures essentially, they might spring more to certain types of sounds. Like, is there a place where you would sort of say, that's my place, this is where I feel like whatever I shoot out, that's where it really hits? And why do you think that is?
Mm, yeah, I mean, the thing is, before I went to places, before basically DJing the places, I was the guy who was always in the first row, just looking at the DJ. And my head was always like spinning a bit because they played vinyl and I wanted to see what he's playing. There was no Shazam. So I think I was actually one of the worst people in a club because now when I DJ and a guy stands in front of my DJ booth and blocks kind of the dancer because I just see him or like and not the people dancing behind him. And he just looks at my CDJs and reads what I'm playing. It's not cool, but I was actually that kind of annoying person. And for me back then, I didn't give a fuck about the club. I just gave a fuck about how does the DJ play and the sound system, of course. But I didn't care about the other people. And it was not like, oh, I want to meet a nice girl or something.
Right.
If somebody started to talk to me on the dance floor, I was kind of like, well, please don't talk to me because I want to listen to the DJ set. And back then the DJs kind of, I felt like they told a story. There was a build up, because you had more attention of the audience, that they were like coming early. So he starts the night, or if it's a guest DJ who starts at 1, he starts at 1, he set really slow, builds it up. And you don't lose the crowd. Nowadays, it's different. When I play, I mean, this is not the answer to your question. Sorry, I'm
Please
going so
continue. No,
well.
no, no, this is great.
But that's interesting that now you can play. You cannot tell a story that much anymore because people would be in the beginning, the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Oh, that's kind of slow now. Maybe we could go to another venue or let's go to the smoking room. And if 10 people or 20 people leave the dance floor, then the other remaining think like, oh, this is not cool anymore. Then they're leaving too. So now you are way more under pressure of playing just good tracks. And it's not about like, going faster, faster, faster than down and telling a story. Now it's like just play, I don't know, just make them dance. Oh, and that's it. Otherwise you lose them. But
And place
back
where
to
they
your
might be.
question
Yeah.
about the places. I'm not a DJ who's like, hey, my favorite place to play is Circoloco or Panorama Bar. I just know that there are really good places to perform and it gives you also good feedback later afterwards, maybe other gigs because you played there and did well. But if I play a weird basement party in Warsaw or somewhere in Romania and the people are happy, I'm the happiest. And if I play the Balenciaga Fashion Week party with all the beautiful models and they're happy, I'm happy. I mean, it's easier to play fashion world events because basically the brand pays people to come, kind of, because they get invites, they come for free, they get free drinks,
Right.
and it's kind of easy. Then you're just like, okay,
Everyone's in a happy
well,
mood in a way.
yeah. But I don't care if it's now. I mean, I played like when I played Grace Jones' birthday party, that was a thing for me that I thought like, wow, that's really cool because I was happy to play her 69th birthday or something. And she got naked on the dance floor. That was cool.
No way.
She had like a bathrobe on and was dancing, and she made me really nervous by coming to the DJ booth, standing in front of me, looking at me, and I was just like looking at her, and she did something with her lips, like kind of licking her lips and looking
Right.
in my eyes like this. And I was like, okay, I need to work, and looked into my mixer because I was nervous. And then at some point I saw that she was like getting undressed, and that's kind of normal Grace Jones because sometimes she does that. But she had on her nipple, she had like a white painting or something. So it
Right.
was not fully naked, but I would say if you ask me what venue or party was one of the coolest, maybe something um yeah, like exotic like that.
Right.
So I love to play Circoloco and Panorama Bar or Robert Johnson, but it also gives me lots of pressure because people are like, "Oh, you're playing Circoloco again?" Or you're playing, I don't know. Robert Johnson is a famous German club where all like Richard Horton and like Sven Feth and Ricardo Villalobos played. So it's lots of history. So it gives me a bit anxiety before, and
Right.
then when I play, it's good because when it works out, I'm happy. But it's not one of my favorite places that I say I need to play those famous places. I'm happy if there's some, maybe a club in St. Veit an der Glachen,
And
where I'm from, in the mountains. Just if the people are happy, it makes me happy. And if I can evoke emotions in them.
And you touched on it earlier when you sort of said, it's harder to tell a story nowadays. And I would say it's fair to say that, especially in the last couple of years, even this year and last year, like having spent my time in America, electronic music, the role of a DJ is fundamentally changing. And I would say a big part of that, because I do know that you have a connection, to the Keinemusik group, how they sort of like, they've been in the game for a long time and they were able to develop this, sort of like huge social media sort of event. Do you have any thoughts on the role of the DJ, how it has changed, on culture, how it is right now? Do you have any opinions on this? I don't want you to, I'm not pushing you to have like a negative opinion, but how do you
No.
see it? How do you feel about it? How this is all changing?
Well, when I was starting to DJ, I played like basically on analog equipment. I played vinyl, and the people danced to it, and they couldn't Shazam it, and they were just in the moment and having a good time. And now it's me playing digital music because I digitalized my tracks. I travel with one USB stick
Mhm.
and put it in, play, and I get filmed digitally. I got just get Shazam. It's all digital. I mean, it's not as, of course, if you are Keinemusik, I love them, and they're old friends, and I'm just in awe what they achieved. Like, because I think what I said with telling a story nowadays, I can't, because but if you're a star like Keinemusik, they are not like DJs anymore. I mean, they are DJs, but they are like treated as like a real life act, like a concert. Now that's what in the 90s was like a Moby concert where Moby goes on stage, he plays his 20 songs, they DJ songs of other people and play every hour one of their tracks, and they play 4 or 5 hours. But the people stay because they are obsessed with them. And they are, so in the kind of music thing, I think in this case, they might be able to even tell a story because when Keinemusik plays 20 minutes or half an hour, something really slow, maybe for some people considered boring, those fans stay because it's like, wow, it's Keinemusik. I bought a ticket for 100 whatever euros. So there might be now in the lucky situation of that they can have this building up sets because they are where they are, that they are not normal DJs anymore, because it's like, yeah, but a normal
Do you
DJ
think it was
cannot do it.
expected for them? Like you've known them for a while. Like
No,
no,
I mean, they were always hardworking and always they believed in their own stuff. And before COVID, they started to play already. Circoloco and Rampa had this record out, the 12-inch on Circoloco Records with 2 tracks like Terrace and Garden, I think. And that was already in the scene. Wow, cool, Circoloco Records. And Rampa is doing a thing there. Then I played also like a few times in Ibiza at Pasha, and like Dixon had this Transmoderna there at Pasha. I played there. And there was a funny incident that I played, and in the DJ booth was a bit an older guy, and he had his drink and wanted to come to me to say something about what I'm playing, and he slipped and put the drink on me. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I see his t-shirt, and his t-shirt said the R of Rockstar Games. And I was like, hey, cool, nice shirt. And then he's like, oh, thank you. And he was like, hey, so sorry. And then
All right, guys, just a quick pause. So, if you're an independent artist trying to promote your music, trying to grow, or who's releasing music, you should check out our new software, Intelligent. It's essentially a platform that takes care of the full promotion framework as an independent artist for you and completely automatically. It personalizes on your data and essentially grows your music like an agency for you with the click of a couple buttons. We just launched this very recently, and if this sounds in any way interesting to you, you can use INTL at checkout to get 10% off for life. And in that case, you'd be doing us a massive favor and helping us to sort of continue make videos like these. Anyways, back to the video now.
I realized, oh, he's the owner of Rockstar Games, Sam
no way.
Hauser. And he's a big music freak and fan. And then Sam...
That explains a lot, because all the music is really cool on GTA as well. Yeah, but sorry.
Yeah, super smart guy.
Yeah.
Really interesting, and like, I love him. And we became friends. And then COVID started, and Sam reached out, hey, can I help you with something? He is the nicest. He's like, oh, wow, Wolfie, blah, blah, send me your demo, send me text, whatever. But I didn't want to send, like, I don't know. I was like, hey, I'm fine. I'm not. Anyway, he was like, can I buy your sound system and stuff? I was like, no, I'm cool. But so he became also really close with Keinemusik.
Right.
And he admired Rampa's release on Circoloco. And so then he got Keinemusik to play in the GTA Online version of GTA 5. So I think that helped them a lot during COVID to be like getting bigger. And then after COVID, they were always, when I saw Greg Rampa like 2 weeks, or now in Paris Fashion Week, when we wanted to do a podcast. And it's funny because always when I see him, I say like, it's funny because always when you open Instagram, there's a new whatever big show in front of the pyramids. And when you think now they cannot get bigger than this, now it's going down. Back then, I remember when the GTA thing happened, I was like, oh, now it's the peak in 2020.
Right.
So I have to give them so much credit that they always manage to do something new that their fans love, and they're getting bigger and bigger. And yeah,
Crazy.
it's huge. But yeah, it's also weird that people are not dancing anymore
and filming.
But it's not only with Keinemusik. I feel like because house DJs are cool, like house clubs. The problem is house could be also labeled as my parents' music of the young kids that are 20 years old, because
100%.
I'm older. My parents' music was, in my case, my dad was really futuristic with Kraftwerk, but normal stuff is like Rolling Stones, like rock. So now if you talk to people when you're 20 years old, then my dad is listening to house. Boring. Now you want like 160 BPM or apparently Keinemusik, because Keinemusik brings also some certain, I don't know, status for some people.
Yeah.
And Keinemusik can be also consumed probably not in an elevator, but saying like, my mom wouldn't mind if this music is played in the background at home. She was not like, wow, this is too crazy, put it down. It's like pleasant, but not like, I don't know. Just like that's why they managed to be now on the radio with like the hit of Adam Port. I forgot the name, but this big song that everyone knows now. Like my cab driver is humming it. When the other day I was like, wow, it's crazy. So to give them respect, I understand the thing, and I know what's going on with resident advice. People are saying that they are destroying the scene, but honestly, I'm not sure if they are destroying it or if the kids are different now. They don't go out to. Back then, I felt like some people went to dance to do a workout for 4 hours. They were sweating, they were laughing. Now they want to catch a moment. They want to have the best moment filmed on the iPhone. And when they get this moment, they're like, mission is accomplished. I can go home now, edit my short thing, post it on Instagram, be in bed, and talk to my friends online or show off that I have this cool, I'm in the DJ booth moment. And so it's something different. And there's not much more of, I think the DJs replaced now the live acts. Back then you bought a concert ticket. Now I think when you're 20-year-old, you prefer to buy a Keinemusik ticket.
Right. And a question on Circoloco, which I just want to ask out of interest. I read somewhere that they have this rule, maybe it's just in Ibiza, given you've played there, that everyone, be that the beginner to the biggest headliner, they get paid 200 euros and that's it. Is that still?
Yeah, not really. I got 800 last time, and that doesn't mean I got more than others. Everyone gets like, I think 800 or not much. And like Panorama Bar is kind of the same. So if you're a superstar, might get paid like 2,000, 3,000. But the superstars, they don't even care about this because they say, hey, it's my family. It's important to play Circoloco. It's cool. And it's also for me, exciting to play there, or like honor. But nobody is playing there to pay the bills, because I think they might not even check if the wire transfer came in. They wouldn't care. It's just like, it's really something special. And I have to give credit to Antonio, who founded it 20 years ago or longer, to build something unique like that. And I know for a fact that he does Circolocos in other cities, and then he still books his family people like Rampa, who is playing for cheap there, but then he pays them accordingly. Then it's not for, then it's he takes care of.
It's around the corner now here for Halloween in New York, and I think they do it in cooperation with tech support at the Brooklyn Storehouse. And I've been lucky enough to go to DC10 Circoloco in Ibiza, and I went for the first time 3 years ago, or just after COVID, when everything opened. I was mesmerized. But the difference between the Circoloco New York City experience, Halloween, which I went to last year as well, and what it is like there, like you still have, this year Michael Beebe did his Solid Grooves, which I know it's not Circoloco, but they did the no phone policy. DC10 is grungy, it's dirty, it feels like I can get a sense, because I wasn't born or I wasn't old enough to be partying in the times that you did, but it kind of makes me, it's probably nowhere near what it really was, but it gives you that slight experience of what it could have been like. And I appreciate that a lot. And then when you come to New York, it's just, this is a concert. This is like a spectacle. And it's like, it's incredible to appreciate from a business point of view. But I feel like the experience that you have as someone who is a music enthusiast is completely different. And do you think that is a positive that, Circoloco has gone and done that? Or is it one of those things where it kind of potentially, loses its beauty in that way?
Wait, I don't understand the question. You mentioned also the no phone policy.
Well, DC10. My question is, for me, DC10, when I was there and I went to Circoloco in Ibiza, it was something that is completely the contrary to what the New York City Circoloco is. And they do it in Thailand and they do the pyramids, and from a business point of view, it's remarkable, and I stand in awe of you said Antonio who built this. But do you think there's an element there that might risk of sort of losing that sort of specialty, that beauty in that?
The thing is, I think I never played a Circoloco outside of Ibiza, so I just played Ibiza. So I don't know how Circoloco is in New York or Thailand, but I think it's a franchise that he comes, of course. It looks like red Circoloco logos. He does the booking, but yeah, it's like the tickets are not cheap. So it's so big, the trademark Circoloco, that who is coming? Of course, people who also go to Keinemusik. It's kind of similar audience.
You're right.
And they are happy to be part of it. They want to record the moment. They want to record the superstar who is DJing now. And in Ibiza, it's more like there's so many superstar DJs on the island at so different venues that it's not that you're not like, oh my God, this guy is DJing now here.
Right.
So you're like, okay, I can chill. I don't need to record every moment because I'm here for a week on my Ibiza trip and I recorded already like Peggy Goo and like whatever. And now I have time to focus on me dancing or like enjoying the moment. So I think maybe in the end, it's all like, I think it's not different people. It's just that in New York there is not so much club things happening like Circoloco, that they're like, wow, now it's like a concert. And I have tickets. I'm gonna record. So less people are dancing because you don't want to have your shaky video. But I think it's good for Antonio and the Circoloco brand, and for the DJs who don't get paid really in Ibiza, that he brings them on tour, and then they can pay the bills and be like superstars around the globe.
Right.
And this filming thing or no phone policy, I think no phone policy, like you mentioned, BB, I think it's good. But I understand the fans. They're like, come on, when you're 20 years old, I don't know, 100 euros is lots of money.
Yeah.
And what's the most important thing now? To have this memory. And back then when I was young, I mean, it was like maybe 10 euro to get in the club, and I didn't have money, so I paid the ticket to get in, and then I asked for, can I get a tap water, as I was never drinking alcohol. But for me, there was not phones to record it. Maybe I would have been also a person who's like, wow, this DJ is great. I'm gonna record and even like check that I see the label of the records. Maybe I would be the same.
Right.
So I don't judge.
Right.
But I see that it's sometimes now when I play that it's sad because some tracks that they always worked really well that makes people dance. And then you play it and you see some sort of generation gap, that some people that are older, they freak out, and the young people are like, okay, cool. Wow, that's a cool track. Instead of dancing, we film it.
Right.
So that's different. They're like, wow, now it's a reaction. That's a good track. That's their reaction. The older guys dancing because they're like, wow, that track makes me dance. And the other, wow, that track makes me film it.
Right. And you just mentioned earlier, which I wanted, because this is something, I mean, this is a bit off topic, but it's something that I'm genuinely interested in as well, is, DJing is associated with partying. Partying is associated with, hedonism in a way, indulgence, experimenting with, drugs. It exists. Yeah, more and more people in America, I can very much tell, they the absence of drinking is rising, and like the consumption of other sort of stimulants is rising as well. As a DJ, as someone like yourself and producer, who's traveling a lot, who is faced with all these things as your day job, how does one go about that? How does one, I'm sure of stories of people having, gone down that slippery slope. How does one stay compact? If this is your job, how does one not fall into that? How have you done it?
I think I'm lucky because maybe I'm a pussy. I don't know, but I'm really sensitive. That's the thing. So if I would have always partied and like no sleep and drinking and even like when I drank alcohol and mix a beer and then with vodka, I felt like the next day it's just that I'm really sensitive. I think I'm lucky for that. But I also admired people that can drink like 10 beer, then 5 vodka, or whatever, shots, Moscow Mule. They can mix everything. The next day they have energy and or take drugs. I think those people are really like, there is two people of those people who can stop at a certain moment when they're like, okay, now I partied my 20th, now I'm 30 or 35, I stop. I feel like those people who their bodies can do that. they might get even older than me because I never did it, but I was too sensitive. My body was like too weak, and they
Right.
might get like 90 years old because their body is built different. There's
Right.
some sort of people that can do cocaine, then this pill, and be like, whoa, I'm fucked up now. But the next day they're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm like, I would like be like, I don't know, I would die, or I would be like 2 days in bed with
Right.
migraine.
Right.
And that's also my thing. I always had migraine as a child already because of that's my mom gave me migraine, my dad gave me music.
Right.
But I feel like sometimes then I got lucky. I was never really first. I felt like I don't want to spend money on alcohol. That was too expensive for me because one drink, 10 euros. I thought like I'd rather have a pizza. It's like, and or like the ticket to the club. And yeah, I got offered, of course, as a DJ, you always get offered drugs. There's like, that's a normal thing. And I maybe tried something, but I was like, always like, no, it's too much for me. I cannot do this. And I was not, when people, they react funny when I say, no, no, I don't do this. They thought maybe because I'm older that I went through a lot and I did this, but I
Right.
never really did it. But I don't judge. I'm not like saying like, I'm also not saying that I saw so many people who were my age, they did lots of drugs and they are ruined now. No, I don't. I felt like, yeah, there were lots of people who were fucked up, and I'm like, wow, they have crazy energy because wow, and their career stopped, but not because they were like too fucked up.
Right. Right.
So, but now I feel like the drinking is, as you said, young kids don't drink anymore. No, it was kind of normal, the thing that everyone is drunk.
Right.
And that's not even like they went home and told their parents, like, yeah, okay, good, you were just drinking. Now they are not drinking; they're taking something else. And I wish I could maybe sometimes experience stuff like this, like being on another whatever level on MDMA. But I think I'm too sensitive, and I don't. I just want to do something good to my body, and I'm a sensitive person. So
Got you.
the emotions I got there from the music, and I'm happy with it.
Got you. I would like to say something, which is I'm a really big fan like of your music. I'm not saying that because you're here. I'm always disappointed that there's not more music of yours. There's lots that lives on places like SoundCloud and YouTube if you do some digging, some old stuff. And when we were talking before, when you were talking about the Keinemusik, and it's sort of like it to me, it seems like in a very humble way, you sort of it doesn't even interest you, the sort of like okay, maybe if I did more of the social media related stuff, and it seems to me like as an outstander, like you sort of you walk your lane and you do that. But are there sometimes, especially now, with TikTok and all this, like where you're like, had I or should I, or do you all just be like, no, I'm on my route, like this is how I do my things?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and sometimes my agent says, hey, because my Instagram, I only have Instagram, I don't have TikTok. My
And
Instagram
you're
is
private on Instagram.
oh yeah, my Instagram is private, and he's like, yeah, open your Instagram and post more. And I do some stories, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know if my career would be better if I would be, because there's always somebody with more followers. If I have 30,000 or 50,000, who cares in the end? Or if
Right.
I have 100, okay, at some point it makes sense. You're right, but maybe I'm different by also not being this typical club DJ because I don't play, I would say I play 30 or 40% clubs, 30%, and the rest is corporate, like Fashion Week, now next week, Paris, Art Basel. And like then, yeah. So it's, I don't have this competition with other club DJs. I feel I'm happy when I play like Circoloco. Yeah, I'm cool. Wow. But it's I don't know.
Do you feel
I don't
like
know.
maybe because, like, if we're saying that, let's say you're starting out right now, I would sort of, is there a fair argument to make that you kind of like made it, had proven yourself, had made those contacts before?
Yeah, of course. I was super lucky. It was just luck because like back then there was not that many DJs. Of course, the old heroes, Sven Feth, Villa Lobos, blah blah. But there was not. There was almost no female DJs. There were like Marusha who played I don't know, Love Parade in the 90s, or Nina Kravitz came, like, I met Nina like around 2005-ish, and she was like on a forum and a big fan also of my music. And she was like, let's make a song together. I'm singing as well. On Facebook, she sent me like vocal demos. And then 2010, she started to get famous. And that was the first real big uh, female superstar, I would say. There was one girl, Monika Kruse, who was a German DJ, who was in the 90s already. Electric Indigo from Austria was also around, but that's not a superstar DJ. Just she worked at Hardwax, Electric Indigo, and great DJ. I love her, Susanne. But the superstardom like that Nina Kravitz achieved, that was the first big female DJ. And what I'm saying, like, I had no competition, or not that much, because what I did is when I first had my vinyl release on a label in Munich, Goma Records, back then my name, my DJ name was not Wolfram.
Yeah.
I used to go first by Marflow, which is Wolfram backwards. And then the productions were Disco Cane, because I thought, okay, I play disco and cocaine sells, but I don't take cocaine. So it was disco cane and disco and cocaine on one word. And I remember once coming to the States, immigration worked, like passport, no problem. And then I had to wait for my vinyl case. I had a big Remova vinyl case, and then I got it. And then you walk out of almost JFK, and then they stop you and be like, what's in the case? And then the guy took out every record from the sleeve and looked if there's drugs in the DJ box. And then at some point, that must have been 2006 or 7, because I knew already Moby, because you have to fill out where you stay. And Moby, since he became a friend, and that was a big deal for me, that he asked me, hey, can you do a remix for me? And I was so nervous back then that I did 3 different remixes, 3 styles, one disco, one rave or whatever, and sent it all to him and the label guys were CC. And I was like, hey, I made 3 demos. Which one do you take? And Moby goes like, wow, I love all of them. Can we release all of them? And the label was like, yeah, we can, but the budget stays the same. We just pay you for one remix. I was like, yeah, cool. Let's do it. And then Moby replied, okay, but always when you come to New York, you can stay at my apartments. So I filled out that I'm staying at this address. I didn't put the name, just the address. And then this guy who checks my luggage is like, so what are you doing there in New York? I'm like, yeah, I'm staying at a friend, and he's also a DJ, and maybe I play some music with him, because I didn't have like work papers. So maybe I play some records at his studio.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, who is your friend? And long story short, in the end, I said like, yeah, Moby, that's him. And he's like, oh, Moby, wow. And he was like, wow, that's cool. And then I thought like, okay, cool. It's all good. He led to me through, but he still went through the records. And then he takes the sleeve out of my record. It was called Disco Cane. It had my face on it. And I looked a bit like really slim, kind of heroin chic, I would say, or cocaine. And he looks at me as like, this is you, Disco Cane. And then he looks at my passport and says, Wolfram. That's a strong name. You should go by Wolfram.
Oh, no way.
And then like, yeah, okay. And then he was like, okay, wait a moment. And then he changed a bit, and I was like, fuck, maybe I fucked it up. And then he went to the office. He was like, wait there. And I was like, fuck, now I get into trouble. He comes back and it's like, I was looking if I have my demo CD with me, because I also have a band and I wanted to give you the CD that you give it to Moby. And then and he didn't have hair, and I was like, you guys even have the same haircut. And then it's like, you better leave now. And then that was funny, but that made me also change my name, kind of, from Disco Cane to just my normal name, Wolfram.
No way.
And
that is so funny.
Yeah,
what a good story. And also with you, like, going into, like, can we expect any releases anytime?
Yeah, I'm working on music, but the thing is,
let's go.
I'm not like Keinemusik, where the fans are waiting for new stuff. I'm like, also when I do new music, I mean, I did a single like a year or 1.5 years ago on this English label Defected, and like Purple Disco Machine did a remix, and somehow it did well, but it doesn't change my career. It's not like nowadays what I wanted to say previously, that back then I had one vinyl release on that label where my face was on, and that gave me already DJ gigs. So back then you had one release because a label said, wow, we love this. We press it on vinyl. We make 500 copies. And just the fact that you were on this cool label with a record that is not even a hit, it doesn't need to be a hit, but you are on that label, gives you already a tour, sends you to Brazil. Doesn't mean you're the big star with lots of money, but they fly you there and give you a fee, and you end up in Rio and then Tokyo, blah, blah, blah. And nowadays you cannot do this. You cannot be like, wow, like, as I said, like a year ago or something, I released a record on Defected, which is a huge house label, with Purple Disco Machine remix. It was not even that we asked Purple Disco Machine. Like, we just released it, and then apparently he reached out to us and to the label. It's like, wow, I love this record. Can I have the stamps? Can I make a remix? I was super excited. I was like, wow, cool. And not even now, this is a guarantee that you have a career.
Right.
That's how it changed. So
Right.
I had a non-hit record on a label 20 years ago that nobody remembers now, with no hit remix thing. Yeah.
Got you.
It was released.
Got you. I mean, it's sort of like I heard in a podcast, I can't remember who said it's never been easier, but it's never been harder nowadays before, because in the sense that
that's true.
the presence, you can connect via social media, but there's so many people. Like, it's really become, and because I work in the field, like, it's become a thing. You know, you are in college, there are parties happening. Being being DJs, producers, they're the superstars, right? And people, it's a relatively quickly, I'm guessing you will learn how to to play a set. Producing is obviously a different thing, but people want it and they want to do it hard, but then still, even though it's more accessible nowadays, getting to that next level is like you say, it's really difficult.
Yeah, it's super difficult because you have so much competition, and the music changed also because everyone can make music. So back then, when I grew up in the 80s, I didn't speak English, and I heard a song and it moved me, the chord changes, because it was all made by trained musicians who know harmonies. So you listen to something and you didn't know what this person is singing about. You didn't know about the feelings, like love he was telling you about.
Right.
But you just heard the bridge, first the verse, then the bridge, then the chorus, and you're like getting goosebumps just like by the music.
Right.
Now you have rap, and he's like, I have the most expensive cars, I have this chick and the watch, and it's a fat beat. It's a fat production, meaning it sounds fat. But does it move you? If I would be now the small Wolfie in the 80s who doesn't speak English, listen to the rap song, I'm like, wow, cool, yeah. But it doesn't give me the emotions, probably, I think.
Right.
So now we have this, that everyone can make fat beats because you have the fattest software, and you have to know how to use it, of course. But you have the biggest competition, but sometimes it's more quantity than quality, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Go ahead. All right.
No.
And for you, just to sort of close off, sort of like sort of the second to last thing that I would want to know is, you're a very fashionable guy. I on your Instagram, you have nice looks, and the way you present yourself, like and you found yourself into the world of sort of like, as you said earlier, like the fashion brands, the after parties, in the fashion weeks around the world. How did that, like, you sort of, I don't want to put you in a box, right? But like, you've sort of kind of like taken over that sort of thing, where it sort of seems like, if there's how did that happen, and how did you fall into that sort of world?
I think I just got lucky again, because Vivienne Westwood, when she was still alive, she was married to an Austrian guy that I actually didn't know, but the stylist who always, Sabina, who lived in New York for a long time, and I met her in New York around 2004. She is the main stylist of Vivienne Westwood, and she kind of heard me DJing somewhere at the university party of the Angewandte, the fashion party or somewhere. And she was like, wow, you're a really good DJ. Give me a number, and maybe I can suggest you to DJ for Vivienne Westwood. And then the first time, I think I DJed for the store opening in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
With my friend Josh, who is a really close friend of mine now, and with whom I made this song that I mentioned before, Undefected. And it's funny because back then Josh because I was also wondering how he got the gig. And he was 7 years together with the daughter of Mick Jagger, with Torture Jagger.
Right.
And so they are also family friends, Vivian Westwood, the Jaggers, blah, blah, blah. And somehow it was weird because he kept laughing. Then I was like, yeah, they just book you anymore, because they were in separate ways, he and Georgia. And I think fashion world can be hard because they're like just connections. So I got lucky because this Austrian stylist said like, hey, and then they liked my music and always reached out. And then people from Balenciaga heard that and then played Balenciaga parties. And now the last years I played always after COVID, that was all before COVID, Balenciaga, and then Loewe now the last years since, and now I played in Paris. What did I play? Because yeah,
Big brand.
sometimes I play Valentino or something. I played with Naomi Campbell a party now for magazine like ID magazine or
Right.
fashion stuff. I mean, it's fun because people are like, as I said, they get
Free drink.
invited, they come for free drinks. So, and they are not nerds. It's also okay to play music that has a pop appeal for people who don't give too much fucks about music. And yeah, I'm lucky that I slipped in there in this
Right.
scene. But nowadays, as I think you're right, it's really important your social appearance, because that makes the star. Because all those people in the end becoming bigger first on Instagram, social media, Keinemusik, their content in front of the pyramids, that makes them way bigger. That it's on Instagram than for the, I don't know, 10,000 people who were actually, or 5,000 people who were in this moment in front of the pyramids. They
Right.
didn't spread that.
Right.
It's the internet that they posted on their Instagram, and then you get this stardom because you have that following. So me with my Instagram being closed and not posting too many
I think it's
stuff.
sick.
Yeah,
Like I don't want to give you too many compliments on this call, but like I think it's super cool. Like you just do your own shit, and it's just like, yeah, you know, like you see this.
well, I feel like I cannot compete anymore with everyone. It's like having their own film crew with, I'm playing this whatever club, but I have my film crew filming this videos that go like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm with my cat at home.
Yeah.
I try to not post anything music related. That's my
Right.
thing.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know.
Wolfram, I want to ask you one last question, and this is probably going to be a tricky one, and by recognizing how humble you are with your words, but I would want you to try and dig deep, because people who watch this, lots of them are in the beginning stages. You know, the places you've played, the stories you have, are things that they are currently dreaming of. You know, that they want to achieve in the next couple of years, as best as you can. I'm sure there's no right or wrong answer. Whatever you feel comfortable to share. If you are speaking, you know, to younger Wolfram, to an artist who's starting out in today's day and age, any points that that come to your mind that you would just want to sort of share with them, as comfortable as you are in sharing those?
I think if you do what you love, you're gonna succeed by being consistent, and you need to be consistent by always being on social media, sadly, nowadays. So I'm not doing it because I managed to be lucky and have already some sort of network where I get booked, a booking agent, blah, blah. But I think nowadays, sadly, you have to, sometimes quantity is over quality, just that people see that you're doing something. You don't, because I have so many tracks on my hard disk that are not released because I'm thinking, it's not good enough. Now, when I found an old laptop, listened to this track that I thought back 10, 20 years ago, it's not good enough. Now I'm listening to it. It was like, wow, it's better than stuff I do now. Better produced, not fatter, but maybe it has more heart or gives you more emotions. Because I think, and I didn't release it because I think, no, it's not good enough. But nowadays, people want to see you every day when they open their phone, like, oh, this guy is productive. He entertains me with his output, with his music, or with, like, if you have a cat like me, I like to, whatever, just be present.
Right.
And let them know that you are creative and that you believe in what you do. And on the long run, if you not become a superstar DJ, at least you get your gigs that make you happy. And if it doesn't pay your bills, well, then you have to have another job. Yeah. But I believe that when you love something, then you are the best in that part
Got you.
of what you work in. So
you.
if you love the job more and you're more into real estate, then you might be the best real estate agent, which makes you way more money than with music anyway,
Got
unless you're one of the rare superstars like Keinemusik.
Very, very well said. So to finish this off, if I know your Instagram is private. You didn't mention like the date. Like where can people find you? I'm going to do a bunch of pop-ups and links and everything to all your stuff. Is there anything you want to sort of like share? Like, is there a release date or anything or shows coming up that you would like to mention?
No.
I almost expected that answer.
No, I mean, I don't know. The thing is, like, now when I go to cities to play, I'm so thankful that I can get invited to play. But I'm also like feeling I'm too lazy to even invite my friends from the cities. I'm just posting a story to please the promoter that I promoted this party, that the party will be full as well, that I'm not like depressed that nobody's coming, of course. But
right.
I'm not, then I just write in the story, say, hey, please, friends, reach out. Because even when you have 10 friends in this city that you text everyone, like, please come, they're also like, it's 2 a.m. No way, man.
Right.
Just let me sleep.
Right.
So I'm happy if somebody finds me and likes my music. I mean, I think actually the music I put out that you can listen to on Spotify, I think maybe it's better than some stuff I play. So just stay at home and listen to some of my Spotify tracks or DJ mixes that I did for Keinemusik. Maybe that's entertaining.
Yeah.
Just type in Wolfram Keinemusik and listen to that SoundCloud mix.
Nice.
Or Spotify. But nowadays, the music that I like to produce is not music that kids freak out in clubs anymore. It's more like I like 80s. So when I make music, it sounds like 80s Space Symphony maybe. But if you play that in a club, it's not, wow, it's nice music. But it's not really like, it's not a banger per se. So
depends on who's listening. Listening.
But if somebody is, I don't know, next week I play in Paris and for Halloween I play Perplex in London.
Oh, wow.
I don't know when you're going to release the podcast, but maybe if somebody wants to write me and
definitely beforehand. We're going to get this out in the next 2 weeks. So we'll put that all into the comment section. All right. Well, that was an extreme pleasure as well as an honor as a fan and thank you so much for sharing your stories, your wisdom. You're incredibly humble and really easy to talk to, so that was a real pleasure. And thank you very, very much. I think you'll be of great help to lots of our viewers. So goodbye.
Hey, thank you so much for talking to me. Bye, Robin.
1 second.